Now, the government's white paper this week scrapped plans to change the planning process, and there were hints that the Conservatives' manifesto target to build 300,000 homes a year was no longer a priority. The housing shortage is acute, and housing associations say they can't meet their targets because of supply and labour shortages and also rising prices. Well, Tony Rowe's been taking a closer look at the problems.
Soon? That means in a short time, but promises when it comes to delivering new homes seem hard to deliver. Take the commitment to build 300,000 a year by the mid-20s.
But Michael Gove this week said statistical targets are not everything, especially if the homes are built in the wrong place, are shoddy and they don't have the right infrastructure. His predecessor, though, Robert Jenrick, has warned the government is set to miss its target by a country mile.
Scrape this front off.
And it's harder to put homes where, for whatever reason, local people object and politicians have to think about their popularity at the ballot box. East Midlands Homes provides social housing for 50,000 people most in need, and it has significant waiting lists.
And that waiting list has been increasing, but the supply is simply not keeping pace with that.
They'd like to build more homes. Housing expert Kate Faulkner says we just have to help those eligible for what we used to call council houses, who are stuck in the private rental sector.
We're talking tens of thousands of people in East Midlands, and you're talking over 1 million people in England alone that are eligible for a social home that's not being delivered.
Part of the problem is our ability as a country to build homes. Shortage of the right materials at the right time, not enough workers and increasing costs.
If the costs of production are going up, that creates problems for SMA builders. It creates problems for us in the sense that it puts further pressure on our capacity to develop more.
Converting old into new could help. The old Hena Grammar School, now owned by the local council, is to be restored, and there will be places to live in here.
I think it's a clever move, if you like, to look at taking what other commercial properties, particularly if they're sitting empty. That's crazy. If we can find a wonderful way of creating homes for people in areas where it's easy to travel, which they often are near the shops, that would be fantastic. But we've got to make sure they are of a good quality.
Housing associations say the government needs to put more money into subsidising social housing to help cope with inflation. For them, the rewards come when someone in real need is given a key to a front door.
Well, you know, the issue around housing, it's been going on for a long time. Heather, if the government is relaxing targets, which Michael Gove hinted at, where does that leave us?
Well, I can talk for South Derbyshire. So last year, of all the new thousands of houses that were built, hundreds of thousands of houses that were built, 7% were built in South Derbyshire alone. I mean, that's huge. So the expansion in my patch has been absolutely enormous. We're getting 3 new schools. They're going to have another junction onto the A50 and another bridge as well. So the infrastructure, thankfully, is coming along at the same time, because that's what people really worry about.
And so what impact's that had? Because 7% is a huge
It's
figure.
Absolutely massive. And a lot of people have come out of Birmingham, and even so Nuneaton, Tamworth are moving to us, which is quite interesting. But it also means that the jobs, and they're travelling to work. Unfortunately, we've got enough employment in South Derbyshire that if they actually decided they didn't want to commute to Birmingham anymore, they could work with really good jobs in South Derbyshire too. So it's a really fantastic place to live, work and play.
Yeah,
but,
and we know you would definitely say that.
Absolutely.
But, Bernard, to bring you in, because, you know, this has been an issue, though, for decades, this need for more housing. It's been something that previous governments have looked at too. Why is it such a problem to get the housing stock that we need?
Well, it's getting the housing where you need it. It's getting the numbers of houses, but also alongside that is the type of housing. So it's a huge rise in homelessness. So there's a problem with social housing and providing that. So you've got large numbers of people who can't get a social housing, can't afford the rent. So there's a problem with that. Then, as I think Heather was hinting at there, you've also got a problem of when you build new houses, private houses for people to buy, a lot of the so-called affordable houses people just laugh at. You know, you get hundreds of houses built in an area and everybody goes, well, who can afford that? No, and so it becomes, so you get lots of houses in areas often that people don't want, without the infrastructure, notwithstanding what Heather's just said, without the schools, without the GP surgeries, without the transport, all of those things. but also a price, and everybody's going, well, how do first-time buyers get that? How does somebody just trying to get on the housing ladder get that? So it's a perfect storm for the government. And frankly, I think, you know, there's a mess and it needs sorting out.
A mess that needs sorting out. Clearly, you're very happy with, you know,
well,
your
I
area.
am particularly because in all the... So we took over the council in 2007 and we've always built council houses. Every year we've built council houses. And I've always said to all these other councils, what on earth are you doing? Don't just get up and moan about it. Do something about it. You've got land, build some. You've got your the housing revenue account, build some. It's in their hands.
But Heather, you're a member of the government. The government has to provide leadership. It's not only just about, obviously as a constituency MP, that's important. I respect that. But you're speaking on behalf of the government. The whole thing across the country is a mess. Your own MPs in your own party are rebelling big time about the way the government is doing. Housing targets are being imposed where people don't want them. There's no infrastructure, as Michael Gove was saying the other day. And then alongside that, you've got a rise in homelessness and the unavailability of housing for rent. As I say, it's a perfect storm. It's a complete mess.
A perfect storm,
I
not just for South Derbyshire, but for everywhere else.
But let me give one more plug for what's so great about South Derbyshire.
But what about the rest of the East Midlands?
We've got this amazing company called Top Hat that make modular homes. In 50% of all new homes in Germany are modular homes. This is the new future. So we don't need to have this angst about we haven't got enough brickers or we haven't got enough plasterers. If you use modular homes, we would get those homes up in 3 months flat. And we could. That's the way forward, Vernon. And people need to see what's going on.
But you're speaking for the government.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's not just South Derbyshire, it's across the East Midlands.
We had the housing minister, Eddie Hughes,
but
to come and see the village.
The government.
Absolutely.
And it's not just South Derbyshire.
Well, let me just interrupt because Heather, okay, on the modular homes, is that something you're then trying to push forward
Absolutely.
with government?
And so we got the housing minister, Eddie Hughes, up to see it. He had a fantastic visit. He went down then to a place in Rugby where they're actually building them there, you know, putting them on site there. So all of a sudden, in 3 months, you've got 150 houses. So people are coming into properties much more quickly. We've got to move faster on this. I completely agree on that, but I think there is a way forward.
Well, what do you think to that, Vernon, to that idea?
Well, as an individual idea, it's not a bad idea, but that's not the point. The point for thousands of people watching the programme is they can't get on the housing ladder or they can't get a home to rent. That's their reality. Or development is taking place where people don't want it or need it without the infrastructure. It's a mess, it's a perfect storm, and what we want to hear from the government is how they're going to sort that out.
All right, well, I definitely not going to agree on this for now. We're going to have to leave it.